Donald Trump is always furiously posting about someone, something, really anything that gets on his nerves, gets him riled up, which is really easy to do. But it is not that frequently that the target of Donald Trump's attacks is his own party, which is exactly what it was tonight, as he melted down on Truth Social, taking those tiny little fingers of his to write some of the most insane posts we've seen yet. And one of them was directed at Republicans in the Senate. We're going to get into Donald Trump's complete meltdown and what it tells us about the entirety of this government shutdown, which Donald Trump is now feeling the pressure of. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Donald Trump attacking Republicans in his own party, of course, I want to start with someone who called out the failure and the weakness of these Republicans, and that was former President Barack Obama in Virginia today in this clip right here.
You know, a lot of people have asked me lately whether I'm surprised by the direction the country's taken. And even though I am the hope and change guy, I try to be honest with them. So I say, yes, there are things I am worried about. I am worried about how quickly basic democratic rules and norms have been weakened. I'm worried about how willing Republicans in Congress have been to surrender their role as members of a co-equal branch of government, refusing to buck the president even when they know he's out of line. Even when a lot of them will privately admit that power is being abused in ways that will hurt their constituents and hurt the country. I worry about a Supreme Court that, so far at least, has shown no willingness to check this administration's excesses, even when those actions break legal precedent and seem to defy the bedrock principle that no one is above the law.
These are guys who talk constantly, and I mean constantly, about how macho they are, how manly they are, how tough they are. And then they just fold to Donald Trump. And they're not just folding to Donald Trump. They're folding to former failed business person, former ridiculous reality TV star Donald Trump. This is not a tough guy. There's no air of intimidation around Donald Trump. Yet always, 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 out of the fear of a mean post, a post that we're actually going to get into, they capitulate. They bend the knee. It is embarrassing that Donald Trump could talk shit about someone like Ted Cruz's wife, and then he capitulates. That Mike Johnson has essentially given over the power of Congress to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has openly said it, that Mike Johnson is his puppet, that he does whatever he wants. But that's what they do. And that's why we have a shutdown right now, because Mike Johnson doesn't care about what the responsibility of the Congress is. He cares about helping Donald Trump protect himself from the Epstein files. And so they will invoke whatever disgusting attack, whatever illegal action possible, including not swearing in Representative-elect, currently still Adelita Grijalva, but also making disgusting racist claims about the programs they're cutting and abusing, like SNAP. And of course, Barack Obama responded to that right here.
I mean, they've devoted enormous energy to trying to entrench themselves in power and punishing their enemies and enriching their friends and silencing their critics. They put on a big show of deporting people and targeting transgender folks. They never miss a chance to scapegoat minorities and DEI for every problem under the sun. You got a flat tire? DEI. Huh. Wife mad at you? DEI.
I am so glad that President Obama is bringing attention to just like the vile bigotry that we see right now in the Republican Party trying to defend itself amid this shutdown, which disproportionately Americans understand is their fault. And of course they do. They have the House, they have the Senate, they have the White House, and they can't get shit done. So instead of actually trying to negotiate and maybe not slashing healthcare, they've gone to the old playbook and they're saying, oh, well, it's just the welfare queens using SNAP because, people who make less than a living wage can't afford to live. It's not people abusing a system. It's a ridiculous argument to make. But with all of this, with Donald Trump understanding that SNAP is a problem for him, that the shutdown is a problem for him, he's lashing out. And it's Senate Republicans, as we see in this post. Trump wrote on Truth Social, remember Republicans, regardless of the Schumer shutdown, the Democrats will terminate the filibuster the first chance they get. They will pack the Supreme Court, pick up 2 states, and add at least 8 electoral votes. Their 2 objectors are gone. Don't be weak and stupid. Fight, fight, fight. Win, win, win. We will immediately end the extortionist shutdown, get all of our agenda passed, and make life so good for Americans that these deranged Democrat politicians will never again have the chance to destroy America. Republicans, you will rue the day that you didn't terminate the filibuster. Be tough, be smart, and win. This is much bigger than the shutdown. This is the survival of the country. You will rue the day you did not terminate the filibuster. Remember how many conversations we had to have about the filibuster with Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin? Thank God they're fucking gone. Now Kyrsten Sinema can lobby for data centers and Joe Manchin can cozy up to big oil even more than he did while he was in the Senate. Tired of hearing from those two. So glad we don't have to anymore. But all we ever heard was about the institution, the filibuster. It's so important. Mind you, it fucking wasn't. It's not in the Constitution. No one gives a shit about the filibuster. It was a racist invention. And of course, that is what the racists loved during the Biden administration. We didn't get a $15 minimum wage. We couldn't pass protections for voting rights because Republicans pretended that they cared about the filibuster. Now, some in the Senate right now do. But Donald Trump certainly doesn't. And he's saying, Republicans, terminate it. Terminate the filibuster. Just push through my agenda. And I want us to remember this post. When we have a Democratic president, when we have a Democratic House, when we have a Democratic Senate, I want us to remember Donald Trump saying, we don't really care about the filibuster. Because Republicans are going to tell us that we have to care about the filibuster. Republicans are going to tell us that we have to respect this institution, that it's just so important. And I'm just not going to tolerate that. I'm not going to deal with this idea, pretend that the norms matter. They've broken all the norms. Literally, they've broken all the norms. They're physically tearing down the White House. And we're supposed to respect these people, supposed to stay in dialogue with these people, supposed to keep them included. We got to be bipartisan. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that we have to be bipartisan with people who fundamentally don't exist, that they believe that those in our coalition should exist. I don't want to be bipartisan with someone who doesn't respect the dignity and existence of trans people in America, with these vile racist bigots, people willing to see our democracy burn to write Elon Musk a bigger tax cut. I don't want to do that, and I don't think we have to. And I think we have to remember that Joe Biden's presidency started off talking about healing the soul of America, and while sure that was an important sentiment, when Merrick Garland is too worried about the political perception of an investigation and an indictment against Donald Trump, a case against him, that was rock solid, because he did break the law. When we're so worried about the norms and the institutions that we don't actually bring justice, you're not serving those norms and institutions. You're only giving Republicans the opportunity to tear them down further. So please, when we're in power again, do not think about the political optics. Don't think about the Senate parliamentarian. Donald Trump doesn't want that. But Donald Trump doesn't want that so he can take people's health care away. We're going to disregard that because we want to give everybody health care, pass a $15 minimum wage, sweeping climate legislation, sweeping gun control legislation, things that'll make people's lives better that they actually want. We're not going to let Republicans stand in the way of. And we're also going to not let the idea of this fear around political persecution stop us from bringing justice to the people who broke this country, who broke the law. I don't care about how it's perceived. Fight back. And that fight, what's ahead of us, Barack Obama talked all about it. This was a great speech. I recommend you check it all out. But this clip right here was especially important.
It says that even though we got rid of a king, there's still a caste system in America, a pecking order of who makes decisions and who obeys, who gets opportunity and who is obliged to serve. And it's a story that's policed by fear and force. that tries to convince people that for their group to win, another group has to lose. That if somebody doesn't look like you or think like you or practice religion exactly the same way you do, they must be a threat to your way of life, and they need to be put in their place. And that's how Donald Trump thinks about America. Make America great again by putting the people like him back in charge, even if they don't know what the hell they're doing. Now, but here's the thing. That story is not new. That's the oldest story in the book. It's not even uniquely American. For most of human history, that's the way societies worked. There was somebody on top and somebody on the bottom. There were lords and there were peasants. And for a long time, that story of caste and privilege and concentrated power, that was the law of the land here in America. If you looked like me, you were likely treated as property. If you were a woman or a white man who did not own property, you could not vote. For a long time, if you were an Irish or Italian immigrant, we're not hiring. If you're Jewish or Asian, don't bother applying to our school. If you were Native American, you weren't even treated as an American, even though you were here. But from the very start, there was another story, born of this nation's true revolutionary spirit. A story that says we the people means what it says, that all of us are included, that we are not subjects, we are citizens, defined not by race or religion or gender or sexual orientation, but by our commitment to a common creed and a willingness to accept not just the privileges, but the responsibilities that come with that citizenship. That's what made the American experiment unique. That's what made us special.
We have to fight a different battle than before, and we have to bring a different level of urgency, maybe than we ever have. We are certainly going to do so on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.